just the idea when we ask people right away when you meet them, like, what do you do? Already serves it up to this idea that like who you are is what you achieve, what you're doing 9 to 5. And every time that happens, my red flags just go up. Anytime somebody even asks me that question, like, what do you do? And I'm like, gosh, can't we just reframe this? Like, when are we going to stop doing this? Can it just be like, who are you? Tell me what you're passionate about. Tell me what you love. So all to say, it's not our fault that we've come to believe that our worthiness is tied to something outside of us. Like, you didn't come up with this concept. Neither did I. We were born into it. We were raised in it. We are, still steeping in it right now in our society and our culture. It's all around us. Hi, good morning. I want to do, I don't know why I just said good morning. It could be good evening, good afternoon. I don't know what time it is when you're listening to this, nor does it matter. So just hi. Clearly, I'm new to this podcasting thing. Anyway, I just poured myself a cup of tea, got my kids off to school. And when I pour a cup of tea, it means let's sit down and talk. JP always laughs whenever I pour tea. He gets so excited. He's like, it's tea time. Let's sit down and catch up. I love that boy. He always wants to sit and talk with me. I'm like, no, not you. I'm going to talk to the people on my podcast, or I'm going to call my friends. Anyway, so today you get tea time with me. I am really excited about doing a little mini solo with you. I want to try doing these more often. I love the long format shows with guests and interviewing people, and we've got some great guests coming up that I'm really excited about. But I also think it's really important to be able to have moments like this where I can just sit down and organically share with you. I don't know why I use the word organically, where I could just share with you whatever's on my mind. And I got a lot of things on my mind. So we're gonna have quite a few of these. But if there are things that you would like for me to talk about, or if you like this type of format, if you're liking these little mini episodes, let me know in the comments and tell me what you want me to talk about. I'm an open book about pretty much everything. So if there's something you want me to talk about, whether it's teenage years, raising kids, I don't know, sex, aging, hysterectomies, hormone replacement therapy, sobriety, marriage, meditation, you got it. We can talk about any of it. So let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about, and let's do it. And if you haven't taken a moment to subscribe to the show, I'd be forever grateful. It means a lot to the show and to just keeping this going. And if you could rate and review, that would be amazing too. So I don't have this really well thought out or planned out because again, we're just shooting from the hip here. But I wanted to talk to you about something that I think is really relatable. And I want to talk about this feeling that we all feel, which is this sense of urgency of needing to do things and to achieve things and to, I don't know, just be always fucking on. Ooh, I'm exhausted. Is anybody else? I jump all the time. I'm like, God, are we still doing all this? Like every day, getting up, doing the things. And not that I don't love my life, because I actually do very much really like our life and I'm really intentional and mindful with it. But it's a lot. It's a lot, especially for women and mothers. And especially at this age, I'm in midlife and I know many of you listening are. And so it's sort of a crescendo of all the things. Like mothering is coming to its peak with teens and just the pressures that they are dealing with. I'm starting to come into my peak of what I'm wanting to do creatively, my marriage, like just coming to a peak, like everything's coming to a head. And so it just feels like we're just in this really busy season of life on all good things. And it can be a lot. And so I'm trying to be really conscious of where do I want to be pushing and where can I pull back? Because a lot of how I live my life is really unsustainable. And I don't really want to buy into any of like the achievement stuff and hustle culture. Like that is a huge no for me. And I know it is for you. And so I wanted to talk a minute and just share some thoughts on that on this episode. So I was out for my morning mental health walk and it was so beautiful and peaceful along the ocean walking. And yet, you guys, I just had this pit in my stomach. Oh, I can like feel it now just thinking back to it. And there was no reason I should have had the pit in my stomach. Like nothing major is going on in our life. I mean, it feels like a million things are, but you know what I mean? Like it's just like everyday things. But I had this sense of urgency of like, I got to get home. I got to get the kids ready. Does Lillian have what she needs? Is she still upset with me? When's JP coming home? Oh shit, don't forget to send that form in. I wonder how the podcast is going to do. Am I ever going to sell at that retreat? Oh God, I have pages due for this book proposal. Just like all the things. And my mind was racing. And it just creates this sense in me of, I'm just going to call it dis-ease. It's just like this sort of undercurrent of yuckiness that I can feel. And I can take over any moment. So here I am, like walking on this big, beautiful beach, watching the birds. And yet I feel like my body was just like, ugh, it just felt tight. And I could feel this sense of urgency. And I know you all know what I'm talking about. And for me, it was this morning on my walk, but I know so many of you can feel this, whether you're like driving in the car at night or coming home from work, or, when you first wake up in the mornings and you're just like, oh gosh, you just feel this pressure. There's this weight on us. I can't always put language on it, but there just is this weight that we all feel of trying to become someone other than we're not, than we are, right? Like always having to self-optimize ourselves, get our steps in, make sure we're eating healthy, feed the kids healthy, don't forget to parent positively and don't say the right thing. And oh yeah, don't forget to like do this thing for work and feed the dog. And I don't know. Oh, I'm exhausted, right? It's a lot. And listen, I'm going to tell you, I feel really grateful for my meditation practice and my mindfulness practice that I've had for quite a long time, that at least gives me the awareness of recognizing like, oh, I know what's happening here. I know this. I know this story. I get what's happening. And because of that, I can usually, not always, but I can usually pull myself out of the spiral pretty quickly. Just a few minutes, I'll go down. So it's just a few minutes. I'm walking on the beach and my stomach is churning, and I'm like, oh, Katy, we have done this before, girl. Don't you know what this is? And I usually do. I can usually find where the feeling's coming from, whether it's a sense of fear or a feeling of unworthiness, and I can locate it pretty quickly. And I'm grateful that I can come back to my breath and I can come back to my meditation bolster and I can breathe it out and sit with it. And I can come back to this feeling of compassion for myself. But I wanted to have an episode today talking to you about it because I think it's such a feeling that we all go through our days experiencing. And I want to be able to just give us a little bit of tools and just to be able to just mitigate it a little bit. And I think the first thing is just becoming aware of it. People ask me all the time, like, how do I change that? Like, how do we stop that? And you can't. I'm just going to tell you right now, like, we can't. Our brains are literally wired to find problems in order to keep us safe. So it's always going to be on the lookout for like what could go wrong, what you might forget. It's its job to keep you safe. Okay. So just know first and foremost that if you, like me, maybe you weren't walking on the beach this morning or this afternoon, but if you had that feeling of, I'm late, I'm behind, this isn't going to go well. Is she mad at me? Did this happen? It's okay. It's okay. It's not unique to you. It's not unique to me. It's just the human experience. It's not your fault and it won't last forever. And we can't always stop those feelings from happening. But what I think we can do is just become more aware of them, is to catch ourselves in those moments. And in those moments that we feel that, is to just have deep, deep compassion for ourselves. I talk about this a lot, but I really think the thing that we're all missing the most in our lives, it's not more protein. It's not 20,000 steps or whatever. I don't even know how many steps people say you're supposed to get in, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not something outside of yourself. It's just compassion. It's just compassion. It's that simple. It's when I was walking on the beach this morning, but I had such a sense of empathy for myself and compassion for myself. I was like, of course you're feeling this way. You're scared shitless. You're launching a podcast. You're trying to write a book. You're trying to sell at a retreat. Your partner's traveling for work. You're trying to raise 4 kids. And you're trying to take care of your mental health. Of course, you're feeling stressed. Of course. And so I just walked, and I might look crazy at times when I'm doing this, but sometimes not sometimes, a lot of times I'll close my eyes just for a moment and then I'll open them to make sure I don't trip on a seashell or something. But I'll close my eyes, put my hand on my heart and one hand on my belly, and I just give myself a moment of my own compassion, like literally just putting your hand on your heart. Like if you're out walking right now and listening, maybe if you're driving, don't do this, but even just right now, just like take one hand and place it on your heart and find if you can find some skin. So like sort of under your shirt, just feel that hand just right on your heart. I know it sounds cheesy. I get it. You're probably like, what the fuck is she doing? But just do it. Okay. Just take a deep breath. Just feel your own embrace. Feel your warm hand on your heart and just tell yourself you're doing great. It makes sense that you're feeling anxious. It makes sense that you're feeling a sense of urgency. It makes sense that you're exhausted. It makes sense that you're feeling whatever the fuck you're feeling. It's okay. You're doing great. So that's what I do. And sometimes I have to do that a lot. Sometimes I do it at night, after I tuck the kids in, if one of my kiddos was having a hard day or things didn't go well for me creatively or with a work project. I just remind myself, like, it's okay. You're doing great. One of the things I think can happen is we have been we have been so trained and so conditioned to believe that our sense of worthiness comes from something outside of us. You know what I'm talking about. So whether it's a degree or a job, a marriage, having babies or not having babies, like a pant size, an age, how many wrinkles we have or don't have, like how we look in the mirror, how many friends we have, if we got invited to this thing, how many likes we have, how much money we've made. I mean, you and I know that that's all bullshit. But is it what we were trained to believe was who we are? I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking with a friend who, she was here on the podcast, and I was saying, even just the idea when we ask people right away when you meet them, like, what do you do? Already serves it up to this idea that like who you are is what you achieve, what you're doing 9 to 5. And every time that happens, my red flags just go up. Anytime somebody even asks me that question, like, what do you do? And I'm like, gosh, can't we just reframe this? Like, when are we going to stop doing this? Can it just be like, who are you? Tell me what you're passionate about. Tell me what you love. So all to say, it's not our fault that we've come to believe that our worthiness is tied to something outside of us. Like, you didn't come up with this concept. Neither did I. We were born into it. We were raised in it. We are, still steeping in it right now in our society and our culture. It's all around us. And so I just want to take a moment now to remind you and to remind myself that our worthiness is intrinsically connected to just our humanity. That's it. Just our humanity. Just the sheer fact that we exist. You, me, whoever, our kids, our friends, like all of us are so worthy of all of the love that is out there just by simply existing, but just by being. I don't care if you never did anything else in your life. I don't care if you ever took those 10,000 steps or did whatever. Like you right now are so worthy and enough. There's nothing you need to do or to prove. But I really think that we've gotten caught up in this idea of doing things outside of ourselves to feel a certain way. So that when we lay our head on the pillow at night, we feel like, I really did it. I did enough. And it's so hard to remind ourselves, like instead, when we lay our head on the pillow at night, of just, I feel wonderful about myself because just I am enough. That's it, just because I am enough. And so I'm going to remind you today, tomorrow, every chance I can. It's just your worthiness. It's just connected to your humanity. That's it. Just for you existing. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to prove anything. It just simply is. Isn't that cool? Isn't that, I mean, really, when you think about it, it's unbelievably cool. And yet we deny it all the time. I have become really obsessed with this concept of overachievement and hustle culture. And I've been reading everything I can and I don't know, interviewing people and just talking about it with friends and family. And I wanted to share a book that I recently read that you may have seen. It's kind of like all over the internet these days because it's a great book. It's a, New York Times bestselling book and it's really good. And it's about this exact topic of hustle culture and achievement. I was so excited to dive into this book, and turns out it wasn't a book made for adults like me and you. It was actually written for our kids. I mean, it was for parents about our children. And they were talking about this idea or essentially the concept is our kids have more anxiety and depression than any, previous generation because of the amount of pressures they feel. And I was like, yeah, no shocker. Of course. Like I bought into the concept immediately. I was like, I can feel it. I've got a kid in high school and an eighth grader coming up and I can already feel the pressures that they feel. It's real. But I was almost laughing to myself because the book was written for parents to become more cognizant of the hustle culture that they place on their children. And I was just thinking about it and I was like, I'm more worried about us than I am our kids. I feel like we're the ones who need that book. But that wasn't was really sort of like irking me. What was sort of irked me about the book, and that kind of raised a red flag. And listen, the book is great. I'm not going to like book shame it. There's a place for all these types of concepts in the world. And it's a really, really wonderful in a lot of ways. But I always think that it's good to look at things through maybe a little bit more critical lens, or if something raises a red flag, it's good to look at it. So this is what raised a red flag for me. I was reading one of the interviews that one of the parents said about their child, and it was about their son who was struggling with anxiety and depression over the pressures of trying to get into college, which is very real, right? I know that many of you who have kids in college or in that phase of life are experiencing this yourself. It's really real. And so it really resonated with me as I was reading her interview. And she said, as his mother, I didn't care what grades he got. I didn't care what sports teams, he got on. I didn't care what college he got accepted to. All I wanted was for him to be, hold on, wait for it. All I wanted was for him to be happy. And immediately when I read that, like the hair on the back of my neck went up and I'm like, oh, are we still doing this? Are we still putting this pressure on people to like just be happy? And that mother didn't, mean any harm. I could have written that or said that. I think we all could have. It's such a benign statement and it's sort of how we all were raised, right? Like just be happy. And I'm not saying I have nothing against happiness, nothing. But I do think the thing that I will say about happiness is it's sort of like building a house on quicksand. Like as soon as you build it, it's gonna crumble. And happiness does not last. It's fleeting and it's based on something outside of ourselves. What I think is the real problem here, why it raised such a red flag with me, is because it goes back to this idea of worthiness. And I think for myself, and probably many of you, we were raised with this idea of if you do X, Y, and Z, whether it's get the good job, go to the right school, get married, and the white picket fence house, 2.5 kids, then you'll be happy. And I think we've put so much pressure on ourselves to have these lives that we can feel are shiny and new, like, perfect and look a certain way. And so that we can be quote unquote happy. And I think it's been the greatest sort of like scheme pulled on us that the end goal of all of this, the end goal of all of this is to just be happy. Just be happy. I just want you to be happy. My God, so much pressure to be something that is built on quicksand. Oof. No, thank you. No, thank you. So I am choosing, and I'm going to invite you to choose a life that is so much bigger than saying, I just want you to be happy. I'm going to say, I just want you to be. I just want you to be. I just want you to fucking be, whatever that may be. Maybe it's happy today. And if it is, awesome. Great. But if it's anxious, that's okay too. If it's angry, if it's frustrated, if it's sad, if you're content, if you're at peace, if you're confused, all of it, I want you to just be whatever you are. And I was reading that sentence that that mother said, and I think what she was actually just saying in her mind, I think what in her heart she was trying to say, but the language didn't come out, is I didn't care what my son achieved. I just wanted him to know he was loved. I just wanted him to know he was loved and that he's worthy and he's okay. But instead, as a society, we say things like, I just want you to be happy. And so it presents us this situation of like, if things are a little bit messy for you, we want you to clean it up. If you're feeling sad or anxious, we want you to clean that up. It's not okay. And so I just want to remind you that like, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay to be whatever it is that you're feeling. And again, going back to this idea of worthiness, that like who you are and your sense of worth, your sense of being loved is not tied to what emotion you're experiencing right now. It's not attached to anything outside of you because remember, as we just said, it lives within you. It's omnipresent. There's nothing you can do to change that. Nothing. So my invitation to you and to me today is sort of twofold. It's two things I want us to think about. And one, This is just give ourselves permission if you're exhausted. You don't have to. Just set it down. Just set it down. Like literally open your palms and just let it fall out of your hands. Whatever the it is for you, whether it's something that you're pushing on for work or in a marriage or in your house, with your body, I don't know. If there's something in your life that is causing you a sense of urgency in your stomach and you're feeling this pit in your stomach that I was referring to earlier, you know that feeling. If you feel that way about something in your life, not even just the thought of it creates that unease in you, just set it down. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to do it. Most likely it wasn't something meant for you and you're pushing on it because you feel like you need to or you should, or I don't know. So we're just going to set that down. And then number two, I want us all, myself included, to be able to expand our views of how we see ourselves. And I think for too long, we've put ourselves in this box of trying to be these quote unquote happy women. I'm just going to go back to the happiness thing, right? These shiny, happy, picture perfect women who have it all together. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's not how any of us are. That's not real life. That is just all BS. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and allow ourselves to just expand the view of ourselves. Allow yourself to be something that's so much bigger than happy. That's so much bigger than successful. That's so much bigger than skinny or pretty or yeah, I don't even know what else. Anything that you're working on. Whether you feel anxiety or depression or stress, contentment, peace, just make room for all of it. Welcome it in. We are so quick to push away feelings that feel uncomfortable for us or that we feel shameful about, which is so silly because they're just emotions. They're just feelings and they're natural and human and they're part of just our existence. They're there for a reason. And yet we so badly want them to go away. So I just offer you this idea of however you are feeling today in this moment, or maybe tonight, just welcome it in and know that it's okay. Just reminding yourself that whatever it is you're experiencing and feeling, it's okay and it's welcome. And you, my friend, as we said earlier, are so loved and worthy of so much love just by simply existing. That's it. Even if existing right now looks like a mess, even if it looks like a beautiful, like if it's going unbelievably well, like it doesn't matter. None of it matters. I wanted to close this with just doing a really quick little mindfulness moment. I'm not going to call it meditation because I know everyone freaks out when we say meditation. If you have ever had the itch to start meditating, though, I will tell you it's kind of a game changer because it helps make all of this so much more clear, if that makes sense. You know, I said earlier, I think one of the biggest tools that we can have is awareness of ourselves and awareness of these moments. And that was, what happened for me walking on the beach this morning is I just had awareness like, oh, that's what's happening. You're scared about failing on the podcast. So you're feeling nervous. And so your mind is racing. And I could have a really deep sense of compassion for myself. But had I not had that awareness, I think I would have stayed in that spiral. No, I know I would have stayed in that spiral a lot longer. And meditation really gives us that gift of becoming aware of things. And I think awareness is everything. And if you don't know where to begin with meditation, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need to know. It's not that complicated. Okay. There's a million different ways people will say, you got to do this, you got to do that. And there's so many different schools of thought and lineages. And for right now, for the sake of our time together, don't even worry about any of that stuff. Okay. All you want to do is just sit down with yourself, whether it's 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes at night or 5 minutes while you're waiting in the school pickup line. I don't care. Even if it's 2 minutes, you're just going to sit with yourself. That's it. Just learn to sit with yourself and to be with yourself. It is so hard and so uncomfortable for so many of us to just be with ourselves that it makes sense that we don't know how to accept our own love and worthiness to just be by just being. It's uncomfortable. It's vulnerable. It's scary. So just maybe today, I invite you to just find 2 minutes. I don't care how many minutes, and just sit and quiet and just feel your own heart beating. Feel your breath moving in and out. Just connect with yourself. Be compassionate. What's going on? How are you feeling? Why? And just give yourself so much goddamn fucking love. You are working so hard. This humaning thing is really hard for all of us. And you're doing amazing. Okay, so let's do it together now for just a minute. If you're driving, keep your eyes open. And if you're walking, I mean, you can be like me and close them. I mean, I trip all the time. People must think I am a lunatic when they see me out walking around my town. I have no shame in my game, though. I don't care. So you can close your eyes for a moment. If your eyes are open because you're moving, either in a car or with your feet or on a bike, keep your eyes open and just allow your shoulders to drop. Just begin to notice your body, feeling your feet wherever they are, if they're touching the ground or touching the bottom of the car, or maybe on the floor of your home, wherever you find yourself. Just feel a connection to your feet. Just moving up your body, just feeling your legs relaxed, your belly soft. As women, we hold on to so much in our bellies and we just cling to it and we want to pull it in and tighten and soften it. So I'm just going to invite you just to allow your belly to soften and expand. You don't need to suck anything in. Just feel your shoulder blades melt down your back. Just take a big breath in and just exhale, letting it go. I'm only going to stay here for a few moments, just feeling a sense of groundedness and of peace. And just bring your awareness just to your heart center. Just see this bright light right at your heart and just see it growing. With every inhale, that light and that energy in your heart just expands and grows. And as you exhale, just feeling a sense of peace and groundedness. Just allow yourself to stay here for a minute. Just feeling yourself building this sense of love for yourself. Receiving your own love and your own compassion. Knowing there's nowhere you need to be, there's nothing you need to do. Giving yourself permission for maybe the first time today to just settle in and just simply be. I see you working so hard and trying. Your heart is so pure, your intentions are so good. Wanting to do it all for everyone, to make everyone happy. And I just want you to know that you're doing an amazing job. And it's okay to just rest. So just staying here for a few more breaths. Just feeling that energy that you're building, just expanding. Feeling that sense of love at your heart center, just now moving from your heart all the way down your limbs, down your belly, down your back, into your legs. Just feel yourself expanding and just filling up with this energy and this love. And when you're ready, just bring your awareness back to this moment, back to the space around you. If your eyes were closed, gently fluttering them back open and coming back. Well done. Well done. This sense of love and compassion for yourself is accessible always, in every moment. It's so easy to forget. It's so easy to get disconnected. So I'm just going to invite you the next time you are feeling this sense of urgency, this anxiety, this sense to achieve or to perform, this pressure to be happy. I just want you to know that like it's okay. You are so much bigger than any of those things, so much bigger than any of those outside experiences. You are so much bigger than just any one emotion. That who you are and that your sense of worthiness and of being loved is just intrinsically tied to your humanity. It's always with you, omnipresent. You don't need to earn it. It's just already there. All right, kids. Thanks for being with me this morning, or I guess it's maybe not morning for you. Again, new with this podcasting thing. I'm not going to keep saying morning or night. If you like this episode, if you would let me know in the comments, I would appreciate it. And again, if there's anything else you want me to talk about or share with you, I'm happy to. Thank you for being here and for sharing your time with me. I hope you know how much I value you and how much I love you. I think about this so often. I may not know you personally listening to this, but I love you so deeply because in so many ways I am you. I am still on this quest to figure out what all this means, what it means to be a woman in this world, what it means to be living in midlife, what it means to shed old identities, what it means to come home to herself. I'm in it. I'm in it with you. So you are not alone and you are very loved. Okay. Go have a beautiful day. Thanks for being here. I will see you all next week.